Hi, my name is Mike Schwarz and I'm the Managing Director of iTech Minerals. Today I'd like to welcome all of our new investors that we've recently gained after our release to the ASX of high-grade antimony and gold rock chips at our Reynolds Range Project in the Northern Territory, and to go through an investor presentation to support our current share purchase plan and give everybody an idea of what iTech plans to do to explore for antimony gold at the Reynolds Range Project in the Northern Territory. But before I start, I want to encourage all iTech investors to subscribe to our email list or follow us on YouTube or on our socials if you haven't already done so. We do our best to produce videos and other content so you can see exactly what the iTech team is up to and why. So let's dive in. So the Reynolds Range Gold Antimony Project is located about 140 kilometres north of Alice Springs. We've got a package of about 750 square kilometres up there, with a gold zone called the Stafford Gold Trend, which runs for about 42 kilometres through that tenement package. Now we've been able to take rock chips along that gold zone of up to 182 grams per tonne over an extensive area. More recently, we've noticed from some historical rock chips that there has been some high-grade antimony samples that have been taken, up to 22%. But they've been very sporadic and haven't really tied together to find any sort of anomalous zone of antimony mineralisation. So we've gone back there out in the field with our portable XRF, a machine that helps us analyse antimony in the field, and we've been able to track down two different zones that extend for over 300 metres that have antimony grades up to 30% and rock chip grades up to about 24 grams per tonne gold. So one of these historical prospects, called the Sabre antimony-gold prospect, we've been able to take at least 4 samples that have over 10% antimony. I've got some examples on the screen here of rock chips that go about 24.6% antimony and 21 grams per tonne gold, and then 30.6% antimony and 2.5 grams per tonne gold. A couple of others go about 30% antimony and then up to 24 grams per tonne gold. And these are taken from a zone that extends for well over 50 metres and is outcropping along surface. And then we can trace it through drill holes undercover and then other outcrops and other rock chips for a full extent of about 300 metres. So when we have a look at where this high-grade antimony zone exists, it exists within a zone of known gold mineralisation at Sabre. And what we can see is that zone of gold mineralisation occurs within a folded structure, but the high-grade antimony mineralisation itself appears to cut across that folded zone of gold mineralisation. Now, when we've had a look at the drilling to see how extensive this antimony mineralisation is, we've noticed that most of the historical drill holes that were drilled in the area, they didn't actually analyse for antimony. And where they did, they only analysed selected zones where there was high-grade gold. And we know from some of those rock chips that sometimes you get up to 30% antimony and only 1 or 2 grams per tonne gold. So they would have missed other zones, potentially other zones of high-grade antimony. And even where they did drill, they didn't drill directly underneath where these high-grade rock chips are. So there are a couple of holes that drill off to the edge of this high-grade zone, and they got 4 metres at 1.8% antimony and about 3 3/4 grams per tonne gold. And then there's another drill hole a bit further to the south that got 9 metres at 1.7% antimony and 3.75 grams per tonne gold. Now these didn't, we believe, drill through the high-grade antimony zone, so that still remains to be tested with drilling. When we step back a bit and have a look at the broader picture at Sabre itself, that high-grade antimony zone, only so far have we been able to map it through that southern zone of gold mineralisation. There's still a northern zone of gold mineralisation where we've got some indications of antimony mineralisation up there, but we really haven't had a look in detail on the ground about whether that other high-grade zone exists. So we'll be going back out there in the field in the near future to see if we can track down another zone of high-grade antimony mineralisation to the north of the existing one. Okay, so jumping over to the Falcon Prospect, which is about 1.5 kilometres away from Sabre, we've had a look there on the ground in detail, and again, within that gold zone, we're able to map out another high-grade zone over about 300 metres of high-grade antimony and gold. Now this time we got rock chips of up to about 16% antimony and 5 grams per tonne gold at surface. So you can have a look at these photos of where we've taken the rock chips. It's sort of quite scrappy outcrop. It's not continuous, but there's a zone there of about 30 to 40 metres where we were able to map out this high-grade antimony and gold zone of mineralisation at surface. And then when we combine that with drilling and other rock chips further away, we were able to see that zone, again at Falcon, extended for over 300 metres. So when we have a look at some of the historic drilling done at Falcon itself, there was one drill hole that got very close to that main high-grade zone. And that drill hole intersected 22 metres at 2.3% antimony and 2.2 grams per tonne gold. Now we think they put the collar of that drill hole right down within metres of where that high-grade zone is. So it got the best indication yet of how thick and what grade the antimony is going to be at depth, but it didn't go right through it. There's another drill hole further over to the east and a bit further to the south. They got 6 metres at 1.3% antimony and 1.14 grams per tonne gold. But that's quite a reasonable way away from where those rock chips are. So at both Sabre and Falcon, where we've got those high-grade rock chips of over 10% antimony and up to 30% antimony, none of the drill holes have really tested that. So that's something that we need to do in the immediate future, is drill right underneath those zones and test the grade and the thickness of those high-grade antimony and gold zones. So stepping back, what does the potential for gold and antimony look like across the region? Well, when we look at some of the historical soil samples for the area that were done back in the 90s by Normandy, we can look at the soil lags, and those we've been able to recapture them and regrid them, and it defines as a high-grade zone of antimony in soils that extends for 6.3 kilometres by 2.5 kilometres. And this covers the area that encapsulates Sabre, Falcon, and a new prospect called Lander, where we've got rock chips up there of over 1% antimony and 3.4 grams per tonne gold. And we haven't really gone back and mapped that in detail at all, but that's within the highest zone of soil anomalism for antimony. So what we believe is that what we can see at Sabre and Falcon is we've got these high-grade antimony and gold zones that have only recently been discovered or realised from detailed mapping. We believe that underneath this zone of high-grade antimony soil anomalism, there are going to be many more of these high-grade antimony and gold veins within this whole system that have yet to be discovered under thin cover. So that's reinforced by some of the geophysics that's been done in the area. We've been able to capture some historic gradient array IP surveys, which basically give us a plan view of the chargeability of those rocks. Now, chargeability is important because we believe that the gold and antimony mineralization is associated with chargeable rocks. So where we get high chargeable rocks, which are indicated in red in that plan, is where we should get the antimony and gold mineralization. So what's interesting to note is that the chargeable rocks are coincidental with where we have high antimony in soils. So that's really encouraging. That whole 6.3 by 2.5 kilometre zone of soils with high antimony is also a high chargeable feature, which reinforces the idea that this should have quite widespread antimony and gold mineralization throughout that whole region. Now, another interesting feature, we've also recently completed a dipole-dipole IP survey that runs across the main Sabre antimony and gold prospect. And what that shows us is that the main Sabre structure that's hosting that mineralization runs along the edge of that main chargeable feature. And then further to the south, we have another structure that runs through Falcon and Lander that has a really nice high chargeable feature there too. So it is these structures on the edge of the chargeable features that seem to be the main hosts for antimony and gold mineralization. So they provide immediate drill targets. So, talking about drilling, we have approval to drill up to 12 RC holes within this whole region, according to our current sacred site clearance certificate. So we're going to go out to Sabre and Falcon, and under each of those prospects where we've got those high-grade rock chips, which have been very poorly drill tested, we're going to put 4 drill holes under each of those zones where the high-grade rock chips are. So 4 at Sabre and 4 at Falcon to test the strike extent and the depth extent of those high-grade antimony and gold zones. Then we're going to save 2 drill holes to add up to 10 in total, to add 2 more drill holes at Lander to drill underneath where we've got those percentage values of antimony at surface. We're reserving the final 2 drill holes for a really nice gold prospect that we've got at Pine Hill, which is a bit further to the east and south. Now we've got rock chips of gold up to 55 grams per tonne along about a 1.3 kilometre structure down there. So we're going to save another 2 holes to drill under that gold prospect, same with the part as part of the same drilling program. So yeah, late October, early November, keep an eye out for the start of our drill program. We're going to be drilling under the high-grade antimony and gold rock chips at Sabre, at Falcon and Atlanta, and then also under the high-grade rock chips at Pine Hill. I then want to just briefly touch on our lithium project. So we haven't said much about it recently because we've been working with SQM to finalise our agreements with them, and we're coming very close to finalising that agreement this month. So just to recap a little bit, we went out there earlier this year and found some spodumene-bearing pegmatites on our tenement package. Now, we knew that it was going to be hard for us, iTech, to explore for both lithium and for antimony and gold all at the same time. So we brought in SQM as our major partner, where they have they're going to operate all of the lithium exploration on our project. So we have a province, we believe a new province there of pegmatites that extends for well over 60 kilometres. So it's a big job to explore for all of that for lithium. So as finalising this agreement this month, really the last thing that we have to do is get SQM assigned to our Indigenous land use agreement so that they can then get on the ground and start exploring. So we expect that to be happening this month. As soon as that happens, they earn an immediate 30% interest in the lithium rights, and they'll pay us the remainder of that initial fee of $2 million that'll be completed then once on the completion of them getting assigned to that ILUA. They then have the option to earn 51% of the lithium rights by spending up to $7 million on exploration over the next 4.5 years. But they've agreed to spend a minimum of $2 million within the first 1.5 years to get focused on drilling those immediate drill targets where that spodumene's been found. Thanks a lot for listening. We're going to have great news flow coming up, starting very soon and up for the coming months, right up till the end of the year. So please stay tuned for these updates. Thanks for listening.